Hey folks, Lucian the trainer here. I am a personal trainer with a full-time local practice. I have 15 plus years training weights and fitness, and I have 12 plus years of training jiu-jitsu and martial arts. Today what we're going to talk about is if you have pain in your knee, ankle, in your feet, the sole of your foot, or even up into your hip and other places, and oftentimes in the low back, it might be because you have a pronated foot, a collapsed ankle position, a collapsed ankle. So today we're going to talk about diagnosing it to see if that is your problem, and we're going to talk about how to fix it if that is your problem. Okay, let's hop right in. Hey folks, all right, so we're down here and we're talking about ankle position. Okay, so ankles are really kind of this sleeping giant in the system, okay? One of the reasons is we put so much into our ankles. We're always, walking on our ankles, and we're putting so much repetitions into our ankles over and over and over again as we walk, through our day. It's like we're reinforcing patterns probably more into our ankles than any other joint, I would argue, in our system, even in this sitting culture. And one of the problems is that, in fact, we don't really move or walk enough, and we don't really move and walk very well. And so the combination of those two things just doesn't lead to high quality feet ankle positions. So if we were to walk more and we had to go and do more things physically, we would probably have better ankle and feet positions just because we need to use those muscles a lot more. Okay, like people in the Amazon or like in Africa or whatever probably don't deal with a lot of plantar fasciitis or something like that, right? They probably have a lot of very strong feet down there. Obviously, that comes with its other bag of worms. They live in a third world country. Okay, thank God we live in a first world country and we have a lot coming to us. But one of the challenges that we have to deal with in terms of dealing with so much, thank God, dealing with so much abundance and so much, productivity and we get to enjoy our lives in the sense that we don't have to walk, we don't have to schlep water for 4 miles from a well to our house in order to drink or wash our clothes, okay? So the benefit of having that is that you have probably stronger ankles. The bad is that it comes with like malaria, okay? But in our modern life, we don't have to deal with those hardships, okay? But in turn, what it's done for us is that our bodies have become kind of soft. So this is why it's very important to be integrating these patterns into our day-to-day. And ankles is one of those things where it's just very habitual. It's one of the most habitual, I think, of all of the corrective patternings that we do. So, like I said, we just put so much repetitions, into our ankles. We're walking around, boom, 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 boom. It just, even if we're not walking around that much, relatively speaking, I think it's the higher end, maybe our hands more so, but our hands are not the same as our ankles. And the biggest difference is that our hands, we don't really require so much technique or form with our hands, okay? There obviously is some, but we're not extremely load-bearing on our hands all the time. If we were load-bearing, like if we were walking around like apes, it would probably be a lot more relevant conversation, but we're not. We're picking up this toothpick, or a coffee mug, and it doesn't require a lot that goes into it. With our ankles, even for somebody who's not overweight, let's say, they're putting a minimum of 100 pounds into each ankle every time they're taking a step, right? Now think if you're overweight or if you're 200, 250, 300, and even if you're in shape, right? Then, we're just driving a lot of weight into our ankles over and over and over again. So for that reason, it's very important to make sure we have really high quality, strong, good fundamentals down here. And I just think that in terms of correcting, one of the biggest things is it's going to be a matter of habitual just pattern resets. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but the first things first is making sure, double checking and seeing, diagnosing, being able to self-diagnose this. So I'll show you what I'm looking for when I diagnose with clients and how to do that for yourself. So the main thing is not necessarily looking for an arch, okay? Because genetics play a role into this. Some people just have flatter feet, and that's totally fine. Some people have more of a high arched foot. That's fine. It's not to say one's better or worse. They're just genetically different, okay? So that's a factor. I'm not looking at the arch itself. What I'm looking at is this structure down here, okay? And this structure, this actual ankle joint is going to be, oftentimes if it's in a bad position, it's going to be looking something like this, okay? So it's going to be in a position where this is going to be in a good position. The relative arch is good here, okay? It doesn't mean that it's the highest in the world or it has to be extremely high or anything like that, but it's relatively a good arch compared to a position like this, where I'm basically kind of corkscrewing it in and down, okay? And then this ankle, you can almost think like, I almost think that like underneath this ankle, not in the heel, but like an inch or two in front of the heel, if that position right there is stamped into the ground, okay, it almost looks like you're anchoring into the ground, like this is like the fulcrum, okay? Oftentimes what will happen with people like that is they'll have like a slippery toe box, like the front part of their foot will move around a lot because they don't have a strong grip on the ground with their toes. Toes are kind of like your fingers, right? So they're supposed to grip and grab hold and be able to, be sensitive and touch and ground and kind of be eyes on the bottom of your feet in a sense. And if those are not really acting like that, or rather, they're not going to really be able to act like that because this relationship will make them be weak. So I'm looking maybe an inch or two in front of the heel. So middle of the heel right here, jumping an inch or two in front. Okay, that's kind of like at the lower third of like the sole of your foot, okay? It's going to just kind of be planted into the ground like this, okay? And what happens is that I'm in this position and then this becomes my base. This position right here becomes my anchor position and I start doing things from here. So if I was to put the concentrated energy into one spot, it would be right here. And that's what that flat type of foot looks like here, where we're collapsing it down. It's this kind of rolling of the ankle internally, okay? So it looks like on either side, it doesn't matter which side, it looks like this ankle will kind of screw down, okay? It's almost like a quarter turn of a screw that just goes here, boom, like this, quarter turn, boom, like this. Now, how do you know if you're in that position, if you're already in that position, because you don't have the contrast to see the quality side. So if you see that your ankle, if it looks like the ankle kind of bulges a bit, okay, on the inside of the foot, all right, then that is a good sign that you have a collapsed ankle, okay? So if it's in a good position, whether it's flat or if it's a full arch, you're not going to get this bulge position, okay? So in this pronation, okay, in this collapsed ankle, okay, the knee is diving in, okay? That's called like a valgus position with the knee. It's just a fancy term for saying the knee dives in internal here, okay? And if that ankle, if you see this kind of little inch bulge popping through that middle of the ankle, all right, that's a good sign that you are dealing with a collapsed ankle position. Other symptoms of a collapsed ankle position are gonna be oftentimes that the feet will turn out, okay? So when I want to go and squat, or if I wanna walk around, you know, I'm gonna be walking around kinda like this, because why? Because I don't get the support from a full foot position. So what my body's looking to do is it's looking to create support for myself when I go down and get into a squat or something like that. So oftentimes with people who have collapsed ankles, it's gonna be here in the second, and it might not be this extreme in the knees. Sometimes people hide it pretty well, and it's gonna be something like this, right? Pretty collapsed here, but the second I come down, I might be doing stuff like this. Happens quite frequently with a lot of my clients. It's gonna be here, you know, and maybe, you know, and so now what's happening is it's harder to see, but these knees are actually diving in like this, okay? Because there's such an extreme external rotation, but also because of this pronation in the ankle is diving inwards, and that's just drawing the knee in, right? So if you have feet that go out, if you have knees that dive in, okay, and if you have a bulge here, then it means that you're dealing with a collapsed ankle, all right? And that is just separate from the arch in your foot. If you're able to do the fix that I'm about to show you, and you see a little bit more of an arch versus the old position here, then that's a good sign. You can see what maybe a better looking arch would be for you versus, you know, a total collapse, okay? So I'm gonna show you a fix here that you can deal with, a couple of fixes, and then hopefully you can improve your knees and your back and your hips, because this, obviously you can see it affects the knees. So if you're dealing with tendons or any pain in the knee, particularly on the inside of the knee, okay? Usually that will occur because there's a collapsed ankle, and so that knee ends up diving in. So it's putting a lot of pressure and stress, a little extra, too much on that internal side of the knee, okay? Getting a lot of pull, tightness on that inside. So you might be getting pain in there. That's a common situation. Okay, so one of the main things that I'm gonna do with clients is I'm gonna take one of these exercise bands, okay? This is just like one of these little looped bands here that you can get these on Amazon or wherever. I'll drop a link in the description below. They're very cheap and they're great tools to have for yourself in the gym. I love using bands because they're so lightweight. You could throw it in your backpack and like forget about them, you know? And it's like, it's nothing. It weighs nothing. And you can always have a tool with you, whether you're going to the office, whether you're going to the gym, whether you're going traveling, if you're traveling for business or for pleasure, whatever it is, you can literally throw this in and forget about it. It weighs nothing, and it takes up no space. So I love these things because they're just so versatile. And so one of the ways I'm going to help my clients with ankle positions is I'm going to take one of these bands, okay, like a medium, not too heavy, not too light. I want there to be a decent amount of resistance, okay? This is like the 3 out of 5, okay? I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna put it around my knees, okay? So I'm stepping through it, putting it around my knees, all right? And I'm gonna line up in a nice quality squat position. So usually I have guys with ankle collapse, they're gonna be here, okay? They're gonna be feet turned out, okay? So they're gonna be in a position where they wanna go here. This is where they wanna go. And I'm gonna say, nope, we're gonna bring the feet forward. They can be a little bit externally rotated, that's fine. But we're gonna make sure that we're in a nice quality position here. And then we're going to drop down. What I want you to do is, this is the position that they wanna be in. I wanna drive out against this band, pushing the knees out over the toes, okay? And that's gonna force that ankle into this external rotation and push it into the arch position, okay? And so a nice full ankle position. Now the other thing that I'm gonna have them do is I'm gonna have them, because if they just go out, then it's like, I'm gonna roll my ankle type of thing. I don't want them to roll their ankle, so I just want them to come out to the outside edge And then what I want them to do is I want them to bite down with that big toe, okay? So I want them to squeeze with their big toe down, okay? So there's a big time tension happening through the sole of their foot right now, okay? There's a big time tension, and if this is your first time doing this, you might get cramps. Like you might get a foot cramp down there because those muscles are not really used to working. They're used to like being totally stretched out and not being active at all. They're used to being very passive. So we're going to put them into a position where we're forcing them to act, okay? Pushing to the outside edge of that toe, okay, against this band with the knees, with the feet, bam, and then I'm going to squeeze down. I'm gonna try to push the ball of my foot, big toe ball of my foot and my big toe down into the ground, and then I'm gonna have them squat down like this in this position, driving out against that band, coming back up, okay? And working through this position like that. That's gonna force them to stay in a nice full ankle position, okay? And this is really great. This is just a really great position. It forces them to get into that position, and it teaches their body what a good position looks like. Okay, so that is big time tip number one, utilizing a band in order to put your ankles into a full ankle position and teaching it what that feels like. A lot of the times, a lot of this stuff is habitual. It's a neural positioning, it's a nervous response, it's a nervous system response. And what we're really looking to do is retrain the system into the right patternings. Those muscles, ligaments, and tendons are not going to be ready to be in that position all the time. Ankles, I think it's very healthy to take in a gradual progression, okay? So the goal is not to be overnight in all the time full ankle positions. I just think that it's just not going to happen. Like it's very much an ingrained patterning type of position. So the other element to this is just thinking about it as you're walking around and trying to course correct, trying to just pattern interrupt in the middle of your day. So for example, for me, I had my left ankle was a collapsed position very frequently, and it was happening because I was hanging out in a collapsed ankle position. I was hanging out, chilling like this. I would chill waiting around like this. I would just hang out like this. And so if I was hanging out, I would just kind of default into that position. And so what I've just been working on for myself is making sure that if I ever find myself in that, I'm just gonna pattern interrupt real gently, real quickly. It's kind of like meditation. If any of you guys have meditated, it's kind of that same philosophy of just like, oh, bring the focus back to what we want to be doing and keep it there. And eventually it's going to fall off. You're going to catch yourself in the bad position, and then we just bring it back. And then we just bring it back. And we just bring it back. And we just keep bringing it back. No anger, no like, you stupid, you can't find the right, you can't get it, you can't hold it. None of that. It's going to happen. You're going to go back into that negative position. And what we're looking to do is reduce that number over time to be like, you're catching yourself, 100 times a day, you're catching yourself, 90 times a day, and then 80 times, and then 10 times, and then, etc. So that's really what we're looking to do. So this position alone is going to help you really get there. So that's how you diagnose it. This is one move in terms of getting to that position and really finding that full ankle position, okay? And in general, walking around, trying to feel into your feet, squeezing with your feet, okay? Using your full foot, squeezing with your toes, trying to find the outside edge and driving through that arch with tension through the arch into that big toe position, okay? That's gonna keep that foot nice and full as you're moving and rolling through it, okay? And then just being conscious and aware of it and training your mind and nervous system on how to move and how to be. And so like finding yourself hanging out in a certain position and pattern interrupting, coming out of that, oftentimes I'll do like ankle raises, toe raises, kind of like calf raises, and just kind of move through, like reset my system and put myself into a nice full position. And then I'll stay there and I'll try to, continue my conversation. Oftentimes the person I'm talking to, doesn't know what's going on with me. I'm just starting to do random toe raises. They usually don't notice. You know what I mean? I'll just kind of be bouncing around. It almost looks like I'm just kind of moving around. And all I'm doing, and I'm still involved in the conversation, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean you have to like drift off into, you know, outer space, but it's just a matter of finding yourself in that position and quickly correcting it, course correcting it, and maintaining that positive full ankle position, okay? There's a number of other things that you can do in order to strengthen that position. We can strengthen the tib, doing tib raises, the tibialis anterior, okay, here. So we're looking to strengthen this muscle right here on the outside front part anterior side of the calf, all right? So that is this guy, and the way that you do that is by doing raises like this, like dorsiflexion raises. So you can do that with a band attached to something else, right? Like an anchor point somewhere, and doing that resistance with the band, okay? And then the other side is going to be squeezing down, so it's going to be doing like kind of towel drags, where we're looking to squeeze and pull a towel in towards our body nice and slow. I'm looking for a full toe spread, full extension, reach out, grab it with our toes and pull it in, okay? And it's going to build up more of that inside, that sole of the foot, right? Helping to create that positive tension in the foot to help push and position that ankle in the right position, okay? So that's the name of the game, guys. Like I said, this is one of those things that is very much a habitual thing, okay? There's a lot of repetitions that go into the ankles, so don't beat yourself up if it doesn't take, you know, if it takes a little bit longer. This is usually something that happens over the course of weeks and months, okay? So that's just a normal, healthy expectation to have with fixing the ankles. It's not gonna be an overnight fix. We wanna move into that. There are things that you can do overnight. So for example, if you're going into a squat, if you're going into the gym, you know, you can find a band. Usually all gyms, you know, are gonna have something like this. You can put this around your knees when you go into a squat and fix your squat overnight, because that is a fixed position that we're doing very consciously in the gym. Oftentimes that results in higher lifting weights after a little bit of time. Once your body adjusts to it, all of a sudden your body is moving in a much more efficient capacity, so it's going to be able to lift a lot more very naturally without gaining a whole bunch of muscle mass, just because the system is moving more efficiently. So usually after a couple weeks of doing stuff like that, you'll start to feel like a climb in your ability to move and generate power. That's a normal thing. And you know, in the gym, that is a kind of overnight fix in a certain sense, okay? When you're walking around, I would expect it to take a little bit longer day to day, because that so much habitual pattern reset takes a bit more time, and it's just a kind of a natural process for that to happen like that, okay? So these are kind of all normal, you know, realities of this, and I hope this is beneficial for you. There are so many people out there who have collapsed ankle positions. I see it like at least in 50% of my clients. It's just off the top of my head. I don't know exactly, you know, but just you know, subjectively seeing it, and I see it in a lot of my clients. I dealt with it myself personally, and you know, so it's very relevant, and then it travels up the chain. So if, you know, you might be having back problems because you have collapsed ankles, right? It really happens like that because those ankles go in, and then those knees want to compensate, and then oftentimes we're using our back in order to do the work instead of using, you know, muscles, quads, glutes, hips, you know, structurally working in the right capacity, you know, and they're not, and so then it goes into the back, you know what I mean? So it's either really bad downhill or it's really good uphill, you know? Like if you're doing it correctly, you have the right mechanics moving in your favor, then you're able to move more weight, because physically, like in terms of physics, you have the leverage and the mechanical efficiency in order to get that job done without actually even gaining any more muscle. So that happens a lot, and so, but in the negative way. And then also, once you're in that position, you're not stressing your joints in a negative way, so it leads to less injury, you know, and that way you can actually stress your muscles and grow and gain muscle. Whereas in the negative way, it's like, you know, I'm not lifting efficiently, I'm not getting as much out of my lifts as I can, my joints are constantly stressed, you know, or just day to day, you know, you have injuries that pop up here and there, and it's either you're going really bad or it's going up and going good. So we want to shift that, boom, turn it around, move in the right direction. A lot of it happens with the ankles. Start with the ankles, look at the ankles, see it. If you can self-diagnose really quickly just to see if you're getting that pronation, that ankle, you know, dropping down, that internal collapse. Okay, and look and do that self-assessment, see if you're able to do it, and hopefully you guys can work on this on your own and fix it, and lead to happier, healthier lives, and stay in the game. Stay in the game a little bit longer, right? We don't want to get injured. Injuries suck. So that's it, guys. I hope you have an amazing day. If this was valuable for you, please like and subscribe, because I put a lot into this channel, and I hope that it's really valuable for you, because if it's valuable for you, then it's going to be valuable for other people. We have tons of people out there who have really bad knee pain, back pain, and it takes them out of the game. And we want them to stay in the game, you know, good, hardworking people who just want to stay healthy, but the body is a little bit overwhelming and confusing for them. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to start. They have back pain. They don't know why. You know, they have torn, you know, ACLs, meniscus, whatever it is, and they just don't know how to fix or deal with it. All that type of stuff, or don't know why it happened in the first place. So if this was valuable for you, please like and subscribe, because it really helps all those people out there who would never find this otherwise get access to it, okay? And otherwise, guys, I hope you have an amazing day. Keep crushing. Talk to you soon. Boom.